So it's Friday, May 8th. I don't think I've talked on this vlog yet, but little Miss Penny decided we need to come out here so she can chase mice, and that so I can get my daily dose of garden time. There's some new things in here that I haven't shown, I don't think, or if I have, it's been with no explanation on Instagram. There's this concrete slab, which has been added to the garden, which I had my dad rescue from the depths of some overgrown behind a garbage shed area. This is a thing that me and all three of my siblings did in 1996 when my youngest brother was born. It's eroded quite a bit since then, so not all of our hand and footprints are visible, but they were all on there at one point. And it was being overgrown, so I figured might as well use it to stop some weeds from growing, and we can look at it. So my madder is coming up. This one never came back up, which is what I expected. That one wasn't doing well in the fall, so I'll just probably plant marigolds there in that tire. But my other matters have all seemed to come up. Dahlias will be in the wheelbarrow again. I've got some, I think, coleus seeds that I'm going to put in this bed. Oh, my raspberries. So I went around the yard. Some of these were here before, but some of them were not. But I went around the yard, and any inconvenient raspberry vines, oh, that one I think is not happy. But it'll grow back next year. And I relocated them to this fence because I removed all the invasive viney things that were on this fence, and I brought raspberries over. Yeah, this one's not happy right now, but thing about raspberries is that they never truly leave you. This is new. This is an old light fixture from the basement. We took the lights out. I'm gonna put dirt in here, put some herbs up there. There's this kitchen chair here now. The leg came completely off, and while it could be repaired technically, it is not an easy repair. So my dad said it's not worth it. So I dug in the legs so that it won't collapse, and hopefully that pot will get a little bit more, sun and won't be completely covered by leaves. So nothing's been planted yet. I basically can't plant until after Memorial Day. Connecticut/New England weather is a fickle thing. We're predicted to possibly have snow showers tomorrow. Here are the woads these days. They are super tall, and they're starting to flower, which is interesting. We had a pallet sitting in the back. I filled it with dirt. I have to fill up the front and stick a board there, or just fill up the front so that nobody tries to live there. Rhubarb is happily chugging along, and then I've sort of reinforced the fence and set up my trellises for the squash bed. I'm going to put the squash in this bed this year. Back into our yard, Pen. Back into our yard. Come on. Troublemaker. I'll go get her. So that's what the garden's looking like right now. Excuse me. I'm trying to vlog here, Penny. She is impatient because we said we were going to go on a walk. We're just waiting for Mom to finish up some stuff. Oh, goodbye, voice. Alright, so that's going to do it for this clip, I guess. Say bye to the vlog, Pen. Pen, say bye to the vlog. Hello, it is Sunday, May 24th, and I haven't done a terrible lot of vlogging in this vlog episode of the podcast. Mostly what I've been doing this week is reading, which has been super great, but that doesn't really, film well. So I haven't filmed very much of anything this week. I did get in a cheeky purchase, which is a Singer 20-10 Sew Handy toy hand-turned sewing machine, which is super tiny and super exciting. I did oil that up and clean it out a little bit. It did come with the case, but the case was not in good shape. I do have to replace the little wooden pieces in the bottom of the case that hold the sewing machine in. And when I went to go clean the case, I don't know if these clips will be before or after this clip, but when I went to go clean the case, basically anything that was glued down started peeling up, and I was just using a little bit of dish soap and some warm water. I wasn't soaking the thing, but all the edges started coming unglued. All the cardboard on the interior was falling out. So I decided, instead of trying to preserve what's essentially old-timey shellacked plastic, I decided I'm going to refinish this case since I have to do work on it anyway. The only thing I'm not replacing the actual structure of the case. I'm not replacing the hardware except for the nails that I had to remove for those little wooden bits that hold the sewing machine in. So I'm going to sand down the wood because the outer, like the sides of the case, are wood. The front and back are cardboard, so I will be recovering those. But I'm gonna sand down the wood, get all the kind of, just cover that camera. Get all the kind of old shellac glue stuff off and see if I can just stain that wood. So I don't have to mess with trying to recover around the hardware, since I do everything the hard way. So that's my plan with that. Past couple days has been more computer stuff. I'll turn this camera around and show you. So over here on the Mac Mini, I've been playing around with new editing software. I have been using iMovie since I bought this Mac Mini, but I have feelings about Apple products and how they lock you in, and I don't like it. So I'm trying a new editing software while I've got iMovie, because I don't want to rely on it forever. This is Lightworks. It's an open source free editing software, and there's a learning curve. It's not very intuitive, but it is reminding me of Sony Vegas. I used to use Sony Vegas 9 to edit YouTube videos years and years ago, but it's got similar capabilities to what Sony Vegas 9 did, so I'm learning this. So I have no idea when this May video is going to come out, because I'm playing around with that and hopefully finishing this month's vlog on it. This is, like, I'm just working on a few clips at a time right now. Trying to get into the habit of doing a little bit of editing every couple of days, so I don't have to spend 2 or 3 days editing super long videos. So today is Wednesday, May 26th, the Wednesday after Memorial Day. And it's gardening time because I have not been pulling weeds. Which means that the garden looks a little bit like this after an hour or so of chopping down wild onions. Just wild onion shreddings everywhere. I have pulled half of the weeds out of this bed because there are actually hollyhocks growing in there. Also, these woads are crazy. Look at them. They're giant. I'm seated on this little wheelbarrow thing that my parents got me for this exact purpose, because crouching to deal with these wild onions takes a lot out of you. Like, this is basically what the whole garden has looked like. This jungle here. Because stuff likes to grow. And I'm not really concerned about yanking out all the weeds in the paths, just because that would take me 1,000 years. So I'm just using these guys to basically mow them down a bit. But I do have to be more conscientious of other stuff that's trying to grow in these beds. Like that bit of something that's growing in that box back there. It's giant. I haven't planted anything yet. Those are my thymes from last year, and of course my woads. Because it keeps getting cold. Usually, for this area of Connecticut, you really don't want to plant anything until after Memorial Day, so that was this past weekend. Last year I planted, I think, the weekend after, or maybe 2 weeks after. So I just want to get this ready in case the weather hits a consistent temperature streak, so I can get my plants out here. See, my seedlings are all the way over there hanging out. I did sunburn my tomatoes a little bit. I've never successfully managed to plant seedlings before, so you live and learn. But they seem okay. Like, none of them seem to be dying. My lettuces are a little rough. The seeds I got from Fedco Seeds by accident are a lot less hardy than the ones I picked up from Ocean State Job Lot for what, 50 cents? Yeah, because they're not the, big time commercial crossbred to be the hardiest thing on the planet seeds. So I'm hoping some of them survive, because romaine lettuce would be great. But we'll see what happens. I'm terrible at keeping track of things and also like taking notes on stuff that I'm doing wrong. So we just hope I remember stuff. So I'm gonna get back to these weeds and hopefully I'll at least have clear pathways. Oh, before anybody asks. So I've got cardboard down that used to be, where those buckets are, that used to be a bed, but it was the wood around the bed had so completely rotted away and the mound had like washed out. So last year I just put these pots there, and if you don't pay attention to it, in a week the things in the pots are completely blocked by wild onions. So I had some spare cardboard. I put it down. Ideally, I'll put some mulch around there as well to cover the cardboard. But for now, it's just cardboard. That'll disintegrate in the rain and stuff, but it'll block the worst of the onions for right now. It's not pretty, but it'll do the job. So I have finished my sort of flannel cotton Halloween Star Wars pajamas just in time for the muggy start of summer. I have great timing. So I used 2 different patterns. I used 5 out of 4 patterns pajama pants for the pajama pants. It's a free pattern by 5 out of 4 patterns. Just a simple elastic waistband and pockets. I did remember to put a tag in the back of this pair of pajama pants because there is a front and a back piece. The front pieces are a little bit narrower than the back pieces. I did not do this in the first pair of pajama pants I made from this pattern, and it causes me consternation every time. So remember to do that for this pair. Nothing fancy, just a regular hem. There's no piping on this pair or anything because they're pajama pants. They don't need to be that fancy. The interior edges are all zigzagged because they're pajamas and I wasn't going to put that much effort into finishing the seams. But that's a nice basic pajama pants pattern that I really like. I don't recall the range of sizes, but I think once you make one pair of pajama pants, it's pretty easy to adjust as needed because they're fairly simple construction. This is the top of the pajamas. I used the unisex pajama top from So Easy. Let's see if we can focus on my pattern envelope. There we go. Like I said, it's a free pattern. For a free pattern, it's pretty decent. I did have some pet peeves about it. Let me just scoot the camera so we can have a look. I did do the option with the piping. This is, oop, just knock this camera around. I did do the option with the piping. This is just some store-bought piping I got from Joann's. I made I think it was the size large, and this is the remnants from 2 packages of that piping. So if you're going any larger, you might want to get a 3rd package if you're going to do pockets. And just for safety's sake, I had no idea, so I bought 4. Because that's how I roll. So yes, this does have front patch pockets with the piping on. There are 4 buttons. These were buttons that I had in the correct size. I keep stepping on the tripod. So they're not the greatest match to this fabric, but they're, decent. So a couple of pet peeves I had with this pattern, just so that you're aware. The inside has this placket facing because not placket facing, just facing. That's the word that I want, because this part of the collar turns outward, but it doesn't give you any way to secure this in the pattern. I ended up practicing some quick felling stitches just by practicing picking up that one thread to hand sew this down, but it doesn't give you any suggested way of getting this down. It also doesn't suggest any top stitching. I did a little bit of top stitching, just kind of around where the piping is, because I'm used to doing that. Another pet peeve of mine, and again, this is a free pattern, so it's not a huge deal. It was just roadblocks that I ran into because I had to figure something out instead of just following the tutorial. The way the pattern designer has you attach this collar was just all the raw edges together and then serging them, but didn't give you an option for if you didn't have a serger. And since this is going to be right on the neck and it's a pair of pajamas, I would imagine that a serged edge or a zigzag edge would not be terribly comfortable. Maybe I'm wrong, but it just didn't seem correct for a collar edge. So what I ended up doing was I opened up these 2 layers for the collar, sewed the back and this layer together, and then folded under this top layer and stitched it down. It's not the prettiest because I was winging it, but I mean, that feels like a better option than to just have raw zigzagged edges right there, especially when these edges are enclosed. It just seemed weird. And then my last pet peeve, and it's a minor pet peeve, for setting in the sleeves, what they have you do is to run basting stitches along the sleeve arm to gather the sleeve in to set it into the armhole. Now that in and of itself is not a problem. My problem is that I only needed to gather down about 1.25 inches to get the sleeve to fit in the sleeve hole. If that's the only difference, why wasn't the pattern just graded so that the sleeve would fit in the sleeve hole? Like if it was 2 inches, 3 inches to gather it down, sure, fine, but 1.25 inches? That just seems like an unnecessary step for a pajama top, you know? But overall, I'm pretty pleased with how this turned out. My stitching could have been neater. I should have, for the top stitching, extended that stitch length a bit. I think I wasn't as careful with this because it was a pair of pajamas as with something else I would normally make. This is pretty big on me, which I'm not mad about because it's pajamas. But I would just be aware that this is gonna run a little larger than just a regular shirt anyway. Because usually the size that I picked would be, you know, the correct size. It would fit in the shoulders, but this, since it's pajamas, is pretty well off the shoulder. It's giant, but that's fine because I'm going to sleep in it when it's cold enough to sleep in it again. So my next new sewing project will be a pair of, I call them pirate pants because that's what I took the pattern from. It's a pair of long, loose, flowy trousers. Very simple, that I used to wear as pirate pants at the Renaissance Fair. I have since made myself a new pair of those pants, and it's the same pattern I used for those woven pants that I made a while back. So I was just revisiting my draft of the pattern, because I don't have enough of this to make a full pair of pants without, like, real creative piecing. So I think I'm gonna go for like a mid-calf pair of pants, which works better for summer. So they'll more easily tuck into my knee-high rubber boots for the current swampland that is our yard, because it's so humid right now. And then a few people expressed interest on Instagram about having a pattern for it, so I'll probably do up a free PDF, because they're very simple, they're very adjustable. I may still have to get creative with either the waistband or the bottom hems for these pants, because the width of this fabric is plenty. However, the length of this fabric is cutting it real close to the measurement that I gave myself for mid-calf. So I may have to do a separate casing piece for either the drawstring at the bottom of the legs or the drawstring at the waist, depending on if I can get to 27 inches from the fold to the edge on these pieces of fabric. But this project isn't going to start for a while because I want to re-dye this fabric. This is linen fabric that I did eco-printing experiments on, and some of it's better than others. Like, this is pretty cool, but most of it is just kind of muddy splotches, which in this color doesn't look great. But Gabby, my sister, has some powdered natural dye extracts, including logwood. I thought logwood might be a good option to over dye these with to get a kind of purple. It'll probably be like a muddy purple, and I may need to like throw some red something in there. I think she said she also has madder, so I'll ask her to bring that up too. Drop it off. Yeah, so the plan is to over dye these, but until I over dye them, I'm not going to cut the fabric or anything, just so that I can make sure I have more or less the same dye process on both of these two pieces of fabric. And I'm probably going to be sewing this on my, hang on, let me get it, on my tiny little hand crank sewing machine. Just to get used to how this machine works. This is primarily straight edges. The only part that's not straight is this little curved seam for the crotch of the pants. But it's not that big of a deal. And, you know, these are so loose and baggy that any, like, jarring mistakes are really well hidden. I'm also waiting for new needles for this little machine to come in. Yeah, so that's the plan for this. In the meantime, if I do any sewing work, I want to practice welt pockets because I want to make a black version of the vest that I made for Gabby's wedding, and I want it to have watch pockets in it. So I gotta practice some welt pockets and potentially insert some welt pockets into that vest that I made for Gabby's wedding, so that if/when I ever wear it again, I can wear it with a watch and be super fancy. Hello. I'm actually filming this wrap-up Saturday, June 20th, which tells you how long I've been working on this video. I just wanted to address a few things before putting this video out there. First thing about videos going forward. I have my notes down here so I don't forget anything of what I'm about to say, so hopefully I get it all in. Videos going forward are going to be more vlog style like you've seen with this month and April. Partially because I can exercise more creative muscles with different types of video editing. I've really enjoyed playing with the video editing on these two videos. I'm also just doing less knitting than I was doing, which I may have talked about before, but I can't remember because memory doesn't exist. Anyway, when I am knitting, I'm more focused on single items and completing those single items these days because of how I'm crafting. I'm also finding that my personal focus is moving away towards capital letters, the knitting community. I mean, I'm still gonna be around and knitting. That's not going to change, but I'm at the point where I'm not buying yarn or buying patterns the way that I used to, and I'm not physically knitting as much for my physical health. It's been a couple of years, it's been about 2 years since my hand injury thing really put a stop to 24-hour knitting marathons. And it's just allowed me to step back and see the sort of what's the word I'm looking for? Sort of the not the rut that I got myself into, but like the patterns of behavior I was getting myself into. with these two things, and I've really been noticing lately how much of the knitting community, all capital letters, is about buying things and holding yourself to production. I mean, there's nothing wrong with buying things, there's nothing wrong with having goals, but it just seems like there's this pressure to buy all the new cool yarn and to make all the cool new patterns, which I'm not really about anymore. I mean, I'm still watching some knitting podcasts, but I have unsubscribed to a lot of them. And I'm still gonna be on Ravelry, updating my projects. I'm just broadening the focus of things that I like to make so that I don't, one, hurt myself, as we've seen that I'm so capable of doing, and also just being able to show the different kinds of things that I like to make in a way that's good for me to film and hopefully interesting for you to watch. I think the more unstructured video clip style is better for that than sitting here and talking at you for an hour and a half. Second thing I wanted to talk about with these videos is a way to support Black creators here on YouTube. I've been thinking about ways that I can help uplift those Black voices because I, like many of us, lost momentum after last January. The intentions were good, but I mean, if you don't face this kind of racism or hold yourself to doing anti-racist work consistently, it just peters out. And I'm guilty of that. So I don't make any money off of these YouTube videos. I don't have any deals with somebody wanting to sponsor this mess. And I've been a YouTube partner since 2010, when it was still called the Partner Program, and I have not yet made the minimum $100 for Google AdSense to send me any money. 10 years. So, when I do receive that money, I will put it towards a good cause. However, I don't make anything for doing these videos. But I do have a fairly consistent viewership. I average out about, I think my analytics said, about 120 to 175 views per video. I have, as of recording this, 1,566 subscribers. That's not zero. So I'm offering free ad space in my videos for Black YouTubers, Black creators, Black designers, Black dyers. If you've got something to advertise, I have space for you in these videos. I figure there will kind of be like 3 types of advertisements. If you're somebody who does video work, say you've got a video podcast or a channel here on YouTube that you'd like to advertise. If you want to make a short video clip that I can just insert into this video, send it on over. If you have slideshows or photos that you want me to show with some text for me to read about a pattern you're designing or tech editing services that you have or whatever, that kind of stuff, send that on over. If you just want a shout out for a fundraiser that you're running or something like that, or you've got a class coming up at this creator festival thing that's coming up or whatever, you can send me those to any Black business advertisements, please send to freakishlemonpodcast@gmail.com. That email address will be down below in the box. Yeah, so if you want to advertise on my videos, and you're a Black-owned business, and I mean, this will likely open up to other POC-owned businesses, but like right now we're uplifting Black voices specifically, which is really important. So please send me a message at that email address. We'll work something out. I will commit to 1 video per month. So if it's really time sensitive, I might not be the best venue for you. But if you have, say, a class that's gonna go live in September and you'd like to advertise it in my July video or my August video, I can work that out. Any ads that are in my video will also get a post on my Instagram feed. I'll likely do a post that my video is live and then subsequent posts about each business creator, whoever, after that. So yeah, have some of my airtime. And the last thing I wanted to address is the segment Other Stuff, which, since I'm no longer doing segments, I'm not really going to be chatting other stuff on this platform anymore, unless it becomes particularly relevant. You know, if I'm designing a costume based off of something, obviously I'll talk about that thing, or if, you know, a video game or a book series or a movie series or whatever has taken over my life, I'm sure you'll hear about it. But if it's not particularly relevant, I don't think I'm gonna talk about it on here anymore. For books, you can follow me as Freakish Lemon on GoodReads. I try to keep that fairly updated. For fan content of any kind, feel free to follow me on Tumblr as Freakish Lemon. That's where a lot of my fandom stuff is happening these days. Any major things that I get involved with will be mentioned or linked or whatever over at freakishlemon.com. And of course, if you're really interested in what TV show I'm binging at the moment, you can shoot me a message on any of those platforms that I'm on. You know, any of them. I think they all have a direct message feature. I'm not pulling away from social media, but I have been feeling pressure. And this has been like an ongoing thing, I think, but it's really been exacerbated since becoming unemployed and COVID and everything. There's a lot of pressure to overextend yourself and share everything all the time, because that's how these companies make money. And that's how the cultures on these platforms kind of develop, because of that like marketing influence from these companies. So, I'm trying to better compartmentalize what belongs where, because I don't like this pressure to perform all of the aspects of my life all of the time, everywhere, because social media is a performance. That's just how it is. Like, it may be a simple performance for you, but it's a performance. And there's a lot of complicated feelings about online performance. So I guess what I'm doing is I'm taking stock of the toolbox and seeing which tool is best used where. And frankly, me rambling on for 20 minutes about the Clone Wars is not necessarily a YouTube item, unless it's directly related to the rest of the video content. So, again, you can follow me at other places if you want to hear about other things than me making stuff and video of nature. So that's, I think, all the bullet points that I had. So that's gonna do it for me. Goodbye.